We're taking this, 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 we're taking with a pinch of salt.
Welcome to A Pinch of Salt, the official ERA podcast. My name is Hugo Diniz. I'm a nephrologist from Portugal, and I'm very pleased to announce that I'm going to be your new podcast host. Today, we're talking about a topic that's everywhere right now, and also that I'm very enthusiastic about, which is generative AI. So, this episode is titled Generative AI for the Busy Nephrologist Adapt or Perish. Now, usually, when we are talking about adaptations, we're probably thinking about ischemic tubular injury. So, are nephrologists going to suffer from Gen AI ATN? Are we going to be replaced by chatbots? Probably not. But is there a systemic risk for non AI fluent nephrologists in the future? We simply don't know. Generative AI is no longer just sci fi hype or a shiny tech fad. It's a tool right at our fingertips. From automating those soul crunching clinic notes to actually helping us automate and synthesize research, today we're going to demystify what AI can do, expose what it definitely can't do, at least yet, and make it approachable for every working nephrologist. And so, to help us adapt so we don't perish, I'm very thrilled to announce Professor Wisit Cheungpasitporn. He is a board certified nephrology consultant in the Division of Nephrology and Hypertension at Mayo Clinic and professor of medicine at the Mayo Clinic College of Medicine. He serves as the AI content led course director at the Mayo Clinic Alix School of Medicine and also sits on the ASN steering committee for responsible AI. So, Dr. Wizik is basically the guy who's figuring out how to make AI do the heavy lifting in kidney care, going from predictive modelings for AKI to building smarter decision support tools for dialysis and even transplantation. Wisit, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Hugo. That's really, really kind introduction of you, and I am really excited for this podcast session. And thank you again.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very, very good episode because you are one of the leading experts in the field. But before we should start by the absolute basics. I know that many listeners are a bit afraid about AI, and for those colleagues that might think that an LLM is a new AKI biomarker, what exactly is generative AI? And how is this different than those predictive machine learnings that we've been hearing about for the last decade?
That's the great the question to start, Hugo. And so basically, it sounds complex, but as it's called generative AI, it refers to the models that can create the new contents, and new contents can be like text, images, or even the coding, right? So it's learned from like the massive data sets and then can generate the new contents for us. In medicine or in nephrology, the most relevant form of generative AI is the large language models that can synthesize, summarize, and give reasoning over the clinical and scientific information. So the fundamental of generative AI is different from traditional machine learning, like the classic, the machine learnings that we may hear in nephrology are predictive and narrow. They take the structure inputs and output into the probability, like
Mhm.
the risk of acute kidney injury or mortality of our the kidney patients. But on the other hand, like generative AI is can the like interpret the context and integrate like multi data types and can generate explanations, not just the predictions. So instead of answering what is the risk of acute kidney injury, or like the risk of like mortalities.
Hmm.
It can help you answer like what happening, why it's happening, or what should I consider next for the patient differential diagnosis or management. So that shifting from prediction to the clinical reasoning, and is this what making generative AI transformative, Hugo?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Thank you for the explanation. And yeah, this the use of natural language processing, I think, made this all possible. And also, on the other hand, it make us interact with these large language models in a very intuitive way by using our own language, and they also understand all the multimodal information from our clinical notes and to the even biomarkers like creatinine, as you were mentioning in the case of AKI. So this transitions well to this the use of languages in our daily practice, which is the electronic health records. I mean, worldwide, we are all drowned in this kind of administrative workloads and in basket messages. And how can a busy nephrologist start using these tools to ease their daily tasks? So, if somebody would want to dip their toes into the AI water tomorrow, what would your advice be? What is that one simple, low hanging fruit tool that you would recommend?
Of course. So if someone wants to like starting the to use like large language model or generative AI in our the busy practice now, and what would make very different or high impact now would be like documentation and communication, right? The so we think about this like using the large language models or generative AI into the workflow. There are some the low risk high return or like very high risk the tasks.
Hmm.
Those high risk tasks, like for example, like making patient documentation or like suggestion on recommendations, I think they are the still high risk because, as you know, the large language model can make like hallucination
Hmm.
or
Yeah.
the some errors. So I think starting with the those that low risk but help with the reduce our administrative burden and improve the communication and documentations are like high impact and something that low hanging fruit but giving like high impact right now. So I'll give you two simple use cases. For example, like clinical note drafting, like you can dictate or give the input of the key clinical points that you have and let the AI or large language model making the structure like more clear and organized and really help us with the efficiency in terms of documentation, right? At the end,
Yeah.
it's still
Sure.
like us that like the human who review the notes to make sure that they are accurate. So the those are like human in the loop. And then the second would be patient communication and education.
Hmm.
So the as we know in our practice, like we have very busy practice, and
Hmm.
sometimes we have very the high like complex terminology like glomerular diseases or
Hmm. Yeah.
like kidney transplantation, medication, immunosuppression, making those terms the to tailor explanations for our patients with chronic kidney disease or even dialysis options or medication changes for our patient and fine tune to like
Yeah.
adapt to our patients like
Hmm.
literacy level. I think those
Yeah.
are high the impact and high value for us. So the but at the end the I do not think that they replace our thinking, but they amplify and improve our the efficiency, and the key
Yeah.
is to treat them as a like first draft generator, not the final
Well,
authority.
yeah, definitely the human in the loop is is still the best approach. So we have to always to review them, but those simple things can really save up time and add up after a week, a month, or even a year. So definitely, I incentivize the colleagues to try them out. Do you think the commercially available models are okay of that for that? Would you recommend using maybe some kind of local model because of patient safety?
That's a great question, Hugo. So, I think first of all, and like you mentioned that the we need to make sure that we're using the this large language model responsibly and
Hmm.
ethically, right? So, the with this, I would suggest that first of all, follow our institutional policy. For
Hmm.
example, the our institution Mayo Clinic, the we follow the our like the AI policy that we need to make sure
Hmm.
that we the follow the AI that compliance with our practice. So for example, we currently the have like enterprise version of the OpenAI or ChatGPT.
Okay.
We also have enterprise version of Copilot,
Uh-huh.
which this enterprise version and the like the AI that compliance to our institution and not the leaking data of our
Hmm.
patients the outside
Outside. Yeah,
the
that's
institution,
perfect.
then making the this like the confident in our patient care. My the basically the rule of using AI is making sure that we not leaking our patient data and protect our the patient data privacy, not to go to outside public AI and follow our institutional policy.
Yeah, that's yeah. We're going to touch a bit on that more towards the end of the episode, but that's a really great point. And I know that here in your institution in Mayo Clinic, you've been toying a bit with the ambient AI and with some automated note taking. And has been your experience? How does that impacted your personal clinical workflow? Does it really capture the nuance of a complex patient and their priorities, even? Or does it occasionally hallucinate, for example, that the patient has three kidneys?
Of course, Hugo, that is a great the like question and also something that we like experiencing now. And in my experience in our clinic, we already utilizing the ambient AI
Hmm.
and automated documentation. So this already making meaningful differences, but they are not perfect yet. So they do reduce our cognitive burden, especially those like repetitive documentation. So in our practice, we are use ambient AI in the clinic, so we can focus on like just taking care of our
Hmm.
patient, getting the information, and caring for our patients. When the ambient AI can the listen to our conversation and the make the voice to text and text to generate the note and draft for
Hmm.
us, and that's really help the reduce the cognitive burden. But anyhow, we still need to make sure that we the taking the active supervision of the AI. The challenge is not obvious errors. Sometimes it can be like very subtle, small errors or inaccuracies that you need to go over, like the name
Hmm.
of the
Yeah, sure.
medications, for
Okay.
example. Sometimes it looks so the real, but the name of the medications or some the information are not correct. So
Okay.
at the end of the days, the you still need to like review them and make sure that they are accurate, and making sure that the we not misrepresenting like those like important information. So the workflows becomes like AI drafting this for us, and we like clinician and
Hmm.
nephrologists like verifies and refine those documentation. if we use correctly, it's become very like net gain
Of
and
course.
powerful. But if we just use passively and just rely on them and
Hmm.
just like the approve without like modification or
Hmm.
supervision, it can introduce significant risk, I would
Okay.
say. So I would describe that ambient AI or large language model that we apply to our clinical work should be just the co-pilot, but not like
Hmm.
autopilot.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I know. Yeah, and that's a nice way to transition to the next questions. I know that we already concluded that right now we AI is more a co-pilot, not the autopilot. But is it going to be always like this? I mean, we love to comfort ourselves like AI won't replace doctors; it will just augment them. But let's be brutally honest for a second. A decent chunk of what we do is highly algorithmic. I mean, titrating ESAs for anemia, adjusting binders for CKD and BD, tweaking a dialysis prescriptions. What we do when AGI comes. So, AGI, for those who aren't aware, is artificial general intelligence. And what about nephropathology? Isn't it just pattern recognition? I really love to hear your take about this. If we at least some parts of the nephrology workforce are in danger of being automated out of existence.
All right, Ugo, I think this is the most important the question of all, and yeah, and of course, like we nephrology, we are indeed like structure and protocol driven. And to say that like the some of the AI algorithms already been utilized and applied for, like you said, that like erythropoietin stimulating agent titration, the part of anemia care model is already been developed and utilized the
Hmm.
in some dialysis center in Europe, for example,
Uh-huh.
or the even those like dialysis parameter adjustment, those are like algorithmic and highly amendable to automation in the future.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's certainly possible the that some of our works the will be like assisted, or the we implement AI into our the workflow. For example, here at Mayo Clinic, the we already the use AI to the apply into the uh, quantitate or giving the total kidney volume of
Oh,
the
yeah.
patient who have like polycystic kidney disease, for
Wow.
example, the which really help that work for us, like
Yeah.
so we get those number more accurate and also like more efficient. But I think as nephrologists, the to me, I think we are safe the because we not only like following those
Hmm.
algorithm, and at the end of the day the medicine and nephrology is not just the like following the protocol, but we nephrologists still need to understand the situation and handle the uncertainty. I don't think that the patient's going to just follow the AI to say that okay, they need dialysis and need to
Hmm.
start
Of
dialysis,
course.
because at the end of the day we need to handle the those the yes and no,
Yeah.
the uncertainty, because we have a lot of uncertainty.
Uncertainty, of
And
course.
also we need to also like the we human good at respecting our patient value, the
Hmm.
from the fact that what patient need from the algorithm that saying that okay,
Hmm.
this patient need this, but we always have different value inside that what we need. And at the end the each person have different the value that they want in life, and then we should like make sure that we follow the like patients like human value, humanity, right?
Yeah.
And also, I'll give you another example, like you mentioned about like nephropathology and nephrology pathology part. The nowadays a lot of studies like research on AI that helping in terms of like making diagnosis
Mm-hmm.
or like doing some the quantification, like for example like the counting the number of glomeruli in the
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
biopsy, like quantitate the amount of like IFTA, like
Yeah. Yeah.
immunofluorescence or
Okay.
the those type of the works that AI can
Mm-hmm.
work more efficient. But in
Then
terms of the diagnosis and making the management, the this the nephropathology or
yeah.
glomerular disease management still need a lot of expertise from us, like nephrologists, because the diagnosis is not just only from like one staining of like
Yeah. Of
microscopy
course.
or the immunofluorescence or like electron microscopy. We need all of those like
Yeah.
combined, and
And
not
yeah.
only the combined of all the kidney pathology, but also need to add on like the patient clinical context, right?
Yeah.
So this making the nephropathology not just only image recognition, but also like putting a lot of the information, clinical context
Yeah.
in, and we as nephrologists to make decision. So I think in the future, likely there will be a lot of AI that incorporate into the workflow
Mm-hmm.
of helping the quantitate the IFTA, quantitate the myoglom, or
Mm-hmm.
the giving us some the guided possible diagnosis. But at the end of the day, nephrologists we still the secure and not going away, and continue to help the make care for like provide care the best for our the kidney patients. So
Yeah. So
I don't see that nephrologist disappearing, but I see that the role of us that utilizing AI
mhm.
will be more enhanced.
Okay. So a transformation period for nephrology. So to sum up, although we are highly algorithmic and we still need that human interaction to understand what the patient wants and what are those values, and that is something that's inherently human and still these models can't do. And on the other hand, although this technology can incorporate huge amounts of data, we still need the clinical context and the integration of all these information. So even if they can suggest a diagnosis or help us doing the pathology diagnosis, we still need to incorporate everything for a final diagnosis. Would that be a good assumption, a good
That is
wrap up?
perfect summary,
Okay,
Ugo.
perfect. So let's talk a bit to a brighter side of nephrology and AI, which is more the academic side. I think this is even easier to implement and to get good results, because particularly right now our specialty is very hot at the moment. I mean, we literally, to keep up with it, is like drinking from a fire hose. And so how can AI help us stay on top of research, even assist us in writing papers, but of course without compromising scientific integrity?
That's a great question, and I like your description, Ugo. So the AI can extremely, be powerful in academic work if we use it correctly. Of course, we need to think about like, the ethical part, and also make sure that we, the follow the journal policy, and also
Mhm.
ethical, the part of utilization of AI in terms of academics utilization, if we follow them ethically and
Mm-hmm.
utilize them ethically, I can see the three key areas that can help us so efficiently. Like for example, the literature synthesis, right?
Mm-hmm.
The AI can summarize multiple papers that we have the from many academic the journals high impact that release, and summarize them and identify themes across the studies so we can learn the so fast uh, process those information the faster, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The second of all can also structure our manuscript as well. Once I have like the contents that I the like, and of course contents are the from our own and the approved by human,
Mm-hmm.
the then you can use AI to help organize those like the information and arguments, and refine the languages for you and improve like clarity the of the writing. And also,
Yeah.
third part, AI can also uh, generate the hypothesis for us as well. There are many studies that showing like identify the gaps, knowledge
Uh-huh.
gaps from the studies that release, and the once they find those like knowledge gaps, and then they can even like propose like the generate hypothesis, and
Uh-huh.
what is the next the studies of our the kidney trials or kidney studies should be. So these are very powerful in terms of, again, literature synthesis, and also structure our the manuscript, and
Answer.
also generate the hypothesis.
Okay.
However, the limitations are very important to acknowledge. And we see very often that even AI, like the high reasoning model, is can
Mm-hmm.
still hallucinate,
Yeah.
especially the references. So
Yeah.
we need to be careful for that, and don't trust references or what it say without like checking them. And also sometimes the AI can also oversimplify, and
Uh-huh.
the like hallucinate more. It can be overconfidence on something that
Yeah.
even the not true, but making it so real. So we need to be careful about that. And it's also does not understand the causality. It's just like
Yeah.
the learn from the massive the text and data set,
Yeah.
and predict the next words for us. So it
Yes.
does not really understand the causality.
Yeah.
So we need to be careful with this. But to look into the bright side, I think AI can accelerate the academic the activities, and the summarize the new information for us. But we humans still need to verify and confirm that those
Yeah.
are correct.
Yeah. Don't trust, verify would be a good mantra. Yeah. And related to this, do you think that the journals, even the high impact journals, are prepared for a tsunami of new academic output that is going to be accelerated by AI?
That's a very great and also the like debating the points and evolving the points that we have right now. So what I'm saying right now may change in the future, because
Hmm.
this the topic is evolving so fast. And at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we follow each the like journals the AI policy. They have
Of
like
course. Yeah.
AI policy that they uh, modify and change over time. But what I learned the from the past year is that like uh we the adopting more, and the okay for adopting
Yeah.
AI
Hmm.
more
More.
into
More.
the writing part. Many journals now allow using AI to polish the
Yeah.
languages.
The language,
But
of
of course,
that
the
would be
contents are
should be
the
controlled.
our own, right?
Hmm.
The So it's possible that the AI can incorporate more into the academic the writing, as long as you follow the journal policy, as long as you we transparent and disclose it in the
Yeah.
AI
Yeah,
disclosure.
definitely.
Of course, there are some the area that the you say, and I think it's something that we need to be careful about, like especially those like the result part, because
Hmm.
sometimes the especially the I've seen that there are some images that in the result, not like infographic or something like that, but in the results part, those AI generated to like get the results distorted. That is not ethical and
Of
need to
course,
be
that's
careful about.
yeah,
So I
fraud.
think there are still like the to me the AI, the utilization part for the writing on, and polishing, I've seen more the adoption
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah,
into academic works, but the result part and image generation for the result, I think those are not ethical and still need to be extra careful.
of
All
course.
right.
Yeah.
So,
Otherwise,
but at the end, this is very great point that you made, and it's like thing it's evolving.
it's evolving. Yeah, and yeah, it would be great if you can share your personal approach to using AI for your research. What is your actual day-to-day workflow for your writing and for your research summarization? Do you have
Yes,
any favorite app or LLM for that?
that's really the great question, and thank you, Ugo. And I need to disclose, so I use AI the for the personal use, clinical use, follow the policy, and
Uh-huh.
also like AI utilization. I also follow the like responsible and ethical utilization. But I do use AI to help find the ideas. The so for example, we have a lot of the published articles, new studies coming up, like
Yeah.
the almost every day, and we have large amount of the information that we need to process. So
Uh-huh.
I have the AI that help summarize those key high impact the articles and journals, and help identify the idea for me. So I think ideas are the most important, and they are the LMs and AIs are very good at identifying the ideas and give me like some
Yeah. Suggestion.
brainstorm structure, identify the gaps,
Yeah.
knowledge gaps, and the for my academic work on like,
Okay. So
okay, this is a great idea,
let's
the
yeah,
that it should, yeah, let's do
let's
it,
explore it a
something
bit
like
more.
that.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly, exactly. And then in terms of the writing and drafting, once I have the idea, I work on my own contents, and the create outline the
Hmm.
contents that I like, and then I utilize the AI or large language model to help like drafting the part of the structure articles that I already have the contents in. So basically, just assist in terms of improving the clarity and the
Okay.
flow
Okay.
the of the contents that I
Yeah.
have. Of
Yeah.
course, this need to be disclosed in the article, and then the last step is always like verify, right?
Okay.
Verification, that always the cross check all the facts that large language model give, even you already make the core contents, and
Yeah.
large language model help polish it, but you still always need to read through and make sure that those information are correct, and find the references and confirm, verify the fact manually by ourselves.
Uh-huh.
So the I don't have the like one favorite large language model that I use, and need to disclose that I have almost all of them that available. The and But I always the identifying the the references or identify the original source by, for example, open evidence is a good
Okay.
source for us to, for
Yeah.
example, you can like, okay, this is the what you have or the statement that you have, and you want
Hmm.
to find the if this is correct or not, you can ask open evidence, and then you
Okay.
can get
Good. Didn't know that.
the result for that. Of course, the now up to dates also incorporate large language model in, so you can ask those questions and get the references as well if it's
Okay.
available. Or the nowadays the like Google Scholar, like simple tasks, simple tools that is free, like Google
Hmm.
Scholar, for example,
Yeah.
also have Google Scholar Lab that incorporate the large language model in, and you can, the
Check. Uh-huh.
keep some, yeah, exactly, the to check some of the fact or references, and then you get confirmation from those original sources. So, long story short, I use many large language model that high reasoning
Hmm.
model,
Hmm.
and I always like the cross check the fact and references by the AI that use what we call retrieval augmented generation that
Hmm.
have knowledge base
Yeah.
and references for us.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you for sharing your workflow. I think it will be very useful for our listeners. And I also wanted to tackle a little bit something that's very new and probably more in other circles than medicine, but which is vibe coding. I think this is a really a great phenomenon, and I would put this in the same scale of democratization as social media was 15 years ago. So, for those who don't know, vibe coding is the new kid in the block in tech circles. So, basically, you don't need to be a software engineer or know how to code to build an app or to automate a workflow anymore. So, you just speak to the AI, you just write to the AI in your natural language, you explain what you want, and the model writes the code for you and ensures that the app works. So, do you think this technology can empower doctors who might even not be very Excel proficiency and to vibe code their way to more complex tasks and some personalized clinical automation? Do you think this agentic AI wave? We are literally living in the AI, agentic AI year. So, do you think this can impact nephrology in the short term or maybe in more long term horizon?
Yes, of course, Hugo. I definitely yes, and this one of the most exciting developments. And the to disclose this, I the have seen a lot of like nephrologists, clinicians who are even like better than myself in terms of vibe coding or making agentic AI, and the I can name some of nephrologists who specialize in the ERA, the
Hmm.
later on too, if you're interested in. But anyhow, I have seen the this is very most exciting development. So now nephrologists can build simple tools like for clinical education and research using this like natural language, like without like formal programming. I mean, of course, the it's range between like low code and high code, and
Yeah.
you can still the doing the high code, which is like programming and coding the to get like the agentic AI like high the complexity the
Hmm.
workflow.
Yeah.
But
Of
at the
course.
same time it's the really open the new path for the as clinicians who the want to do this vibe coding and develop the tools that can help us without like formal programming.
Yeah.
So, or what we call like low code part. So, for example, you can develop the tools by vibe coding for like prior authorization, letter generator. You can also develop the tools that can help with the patient education
Mm-hmm.
for giving the education the better to understand, and also like for uh, making the checklist for clinical decision support for
Uh-huh.
our patient who need dialysis, or the getting some the treatment for immunosuppression, for example. So looking ahead, like this, like vibe coding and agentic AI system can certainly incorporate into our multiple or multi-step workflows that I can see that is can impact our nephrology areas. Some of them already actually happening, so it's not the
Oh,
the hype anymore. It's already like reality, and
like
I think it's the here to stay and continue to grow.
to grow. Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I can see that in the future we will incorporate more of like agentic AI system for pre-visit planning. That
Okay.
before the patient come in, there's like AI to get information from the patient, and the ask patient the informations that we need, and incorporate into our electronic health record for the workflow, for example. Or the I can also see agentic AI that help with longitudinal patient monitoring over
Uh-huh.
time. Like
Yeah.
when we see patient, then help us like coordinate the labs, and also the
Yeah,
getting the
that would
next
be.
appointment the for us, and also like remind the patient to the have labs report the blood pressure, the
Yeah, that would be
data,
very helpful.
or helping with like medication compliance, for example. Those already been studied and developing for patients the for hypertension management, for example. So also like those AI agent that may help with administrative automation. So this will help us a lot, and I know it's still early, but the trends and trajectory is very clear that it's here to stay and going to continue to grow.
I
Ugo.
mean,
So
yeah, that's very interesting, and I'm really hopeful that we can get it implemented fast, especially in Europe, where usually regulation is more strict in terms of AI and data protection.
yeah,
And
and I'm really excited as well that in the future, like you and me interested in AI, and we're not just like using the tools, but we also with the vibe coding, the we may the even like design our own like workflows that we
yeah,
like for patient care. So
and it will be adapted to your own setting, your own reality, to your own patient, not just use something that it's not personalized and it's made for your whole country or your whole continent or whatever, and then it doesn't really work as smoothly as you would expect. Yeah, unfortunately we're reaching out to the end of the episode, but we can't have an AI chat without talking about the risks. We've touched this a little bit at the beginning, but there are a lot of cons, um, between the massive energy, maybe even water consumption that the amount of AI compute needs to run these models, which is very relevant to our environmental goals in nephrology, as the green nephrology philosophy is growing, and also to this absolute minefield of patient data privacy. Already touched on this, but what really keeps you up at night, um, about
give me
the whole AI negative aspects? Is it the patient data privacy? Is it the environmental impact? Any other issues that you think we need to be very responsible about?
I love the environment as well. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I love the like green and nature. But what really keep me up at night is that like making sure that we follow the data privacy, and also make sure that we not the over like rely on AI. So we need
Hmm.
to make sure that we never put like patient data into the public models and follow our institutional AI
Yeah.
policy,
Hmm.
and always verify the outputs. Because we always need to make sure that we use human in the loop, and also just use AI for support, not the final decision. So, responsible use of AI is like the core. Is not optional.
Yeah, I think that's a powerful statement to finish up the discussion. But before we let you go and we wrap up the episode, we need to ask you the traditional question of the a pinch of salt, which is, which book, two songs, and luxury item would you take to a desert island, and why?
So that's a great question. So and fun question. So let's start with the songs first. So I'm more of like the newer generation, and I like the songs that like give me great energy. I love
Right.
Spider-Man, so I'll go with the Sunflower by Post Malone, and
Okay.
also
Good.
with the Fireflies by the Old City. So the I love like
Okay.
both songs give me great energy.
Great
In
energy.
terms
Great.
of like the book, the I love the last lecture by Randy Prowse is really
Mhm.
the giving us like motivation to continue to do my best every day, because we cannot predict what going to happen for us in the future. So always
Okay.
like follow our dream, what we want to do, and enjoy to make sure that we like making our life like happy, and
Yeah.
also like people nearby us like family. And the item that I can pick to the island, I would go with the simple one, like just a notebook that I can write on to like the clear my mind and reflect myself. The
Yeah.
even I sounds like the like technology, but something that I like is also simple, like just writing
Yeah.
with
Pen and
my
paper.
handwriting on the book. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. And also you could journal your life at the desert island, which would be fun to review. Okay, Wizard,
Correct.
thank you so much. It was a great discussion, great talk, very interesting. I think it will be make up for a great episode, and this because this has been incredibly eye opening. And although it sounds that AI won't replace the nephrologist clinical judgment, at least anytime soon, we might cure our chronic administrative disease, which is also very positive. So thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for the next episode of A Pinch of Salt. Thank you.
Thank you
Bye
so
bye.
much. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.